All right, sweet people. Let's get rolling into this, shall we? Welcome back to the show. This is GVS, where I try to cover all things sports. We got a big day today in the landscape of sports and stuff. We got game one of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight, and so I will be giving a preview on that. We had some stuff that happened over the weekend and recently where we got coach firing in the NBA that we got to talk about, but then also I want to talk a little bit about the Madden cover as well too. Saquon Barkley's on the Madden cover. I thought that's pretty cool, so I wanted to talk about that as well. And then nothing much else. Like those are kind of like the three big things and stuff. And then so we'll start, and go all the way down, and we'll end kind of just with me yapping about hockey and how tonight might look and how tonight might fare out with the Stanley Cup final game tonight. And so let's start with the NBA. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about with the NBA, something that just broke, brand new, breaking news, was that the Cavs assistant coach Ott, he will now be the new Suns head coach. Phoenix fired their coach long before the playoffs ever started. And there was questions on, okay, does this mean Durant's going to leave? Does this mean that Booker's going to leave? Like, the future seemed very uncertain for the Phoenix Suns. I think it's a good hire, but again, I don't know, I don't know how much implication Ott did versus, I believe Atkinson is the head coach of Cleveland. I don't know how much of an impact he had on the Cavs. And with how the Cavs ended their season, I can see why they decided to go in a different direction. I mean, they're the number one team in the East, heavy favorites going into the playoffs because it's like, it's the 1 and the 2 seed. Like we think, the Celtics and the Cavs are going to run into each other in the East, but it ends up being, the Pacers and the Knicks. And so I think, good on him for being able to, have that shot to go be the Suns head coach. But I really don't know. I can't gauge how successful that this is going to be. I can't gauge how successful this turnout's going to be, just considering on where the Suns are going and how uncertain the future seems with. Are you going to trade Booker, or is he going to stay? And are you going to trade KD? Which we kind of know KD's already, there's been trade scenarios where KD goes to the Rockets. There's also been trade scenarios where KD goes and teams up with Ant-Man, in Minnesota. So I don't know. Like, I think it, like, on the outside, it looks like a good hire. But again, we'll just see because Phoenix there's a lot more stuff that they got to figure out this offseason. But they will. And I'm pretty confident that they will. The other big story that everybody's going to start to talk about, which rightfully so, and it kind of surprises me just with how it's the landscape of basketball, it's the landscape of pro sports, and I get it because, loyalty's kind of gone in the sports world, but these coaches, they have a short leash, man, and the reason why I'm saying this is because Coach Thibodeau has been fired from the New York Knicks, and so my reaction and my thoughts on it is my huge overreaction is that it is an overreaction. Coach Thibodeau, when you look at his success compared to failure, he was hired, I believe, in 2020 when we went back into the bubble and stuff in July. And since then, he's brought the Knicks the farthest they've gotten in the past 25 years. And they decided to, hey, there's the door, go that way. I don't know. I think there's more stuff, but of course, it's the media and it's privacy, so they don't need to tell us. They don't need to tell the fans because, it's none of our business. But I think there was probably a lot of decisions behind closed doors that were made because he's been the most successful coach these past 25 years. Look how far he's gotten you, and you're like, nope. The door's that way. I think probably a lot of it comes down to just coaching style, on how the big one that everybody talks about is conditioning and how he grinds his players down to basically nothing. We're seeing it right now, and I'll talk about it too. Cat's gonna go get some treatment on some of the injuries he's sustained in the playoffs. Everybody's banged up in the playoffs, we know this, but I think just with how much he coaches his guys and how many minutes they play, I truthfully think that once they did get to Game 6, they just ran out of gas. Because for the whole season, and again, I didn't cover the Knicks and I don't know the full story, but if Brunson, if Hart, if Cat, if all these boys, Bridges as well, if all of them are playing 30 plus minutes the whole season, I can see how conditioning and fatigue becomes an issue there when, well, we haven't learned how to use our rotational pieces. And now when our back's against the wall, we're down 2-0, we're down 3-1 in a series and we're trying to keep forcing games, and we're throwing rotation guys in to give our starters the breather. I can see how that is a problem. But again, that's a coaching style. And I mean, it worked in their favor in some instances, but then others no. Like, I do think, I think the Knicks did run out of gas, and I think the Pacers are kind of the real deal of taking that mantra of an underdog role on how nobody picked the Pacers to beat the Cavs, nobody picked the Pacers to beat the Knicks, and so I think like when you run into like that mental psyche and motivation of the Pacers when they have nothing to lose, I think it's kind of that really like, oh, these are the unmeasurables on why Pacers won the series. But then again, like the Knicks got themselves in the situation that they were down 2-0, down 3-1 in that series because they blew game 1 and 2. Like it was in Madison Square Garden. The home team should have won every single game, all things considered, but you have home court advantage for games 1 and 2, and you leave there 0-2. Like it just kind of, that's probably what was the marking, like the sign or something, like the writing being on the wall of how, okay, Coach Tibbs, we didn't win game 1 and 2. You might get fired unless you win this series. So I don't know, but that's my thoughts on that. Do I think it was a little quick? Yeah. Do I think there could be pieces that could benefit the Knicks and make them a better team? Absolutely. I think I I mean, even now when we're looking, okay, who could be the future head coach of the Knicks? I was joking because Coach Malone needs a job, and Coach Malone will be coaching this fall, and so I'm thinking, okay, you trade Cat for Jokic. You have Jokic in the big city with Coach Malone and Brunson, and like that. I think that'd be a good. I think that'd be a match made in heaven, and I think also too, just because I've thrown it out there, like I think that Coach Malone might go coach for the Spurs under the direction of Coach Popovich, because he's the president there, and you get Giannis to go to the Spurs, you get Jokic to go to the Spurs as well, and some trades and stuff. I have a feeling that Jokic and Malone isn't over. Like I have a feeling like it probably will come back again, but who knows? Who knows what Denver's gonna do? And it would take a lot to get Jokic and Cat to swap places, but I think just complimentary when you want to look at it on paper, I think Brunson could be a complimentary piece to Jokic, and Jokic is one of arguably the best big men in the NBA. So I'm kind of like, if we want the Knicks to be good again, like, and we want them to retain the success that they had this season, that there's parts of me that feel like, yes, having a Jokic could get the Knicks past the Pacers. And so now it's Jokic, Brunson, Bridges, and all of them against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And I think the series is up for grabs. Anybody could take it, even if the Thunder were the number 1 seed. So that's just some crazy thoughts that I had on that. What else? What else could we talk about? Oh, I did talk about a little bit on the Cat injury. And I think that comes with conditioning of the players and how, yeah, when they're playing 30 plus minutes every single game, all 82 games. Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of like, no, there's no way they can be mentally fatigued and they can just run out of gas at the end of the season. But I mean, okay, maybe they can. Because I don't know. And then the other thing that I wanted to talk about with the NBA is the connection, and I find it funny because there's an article that's sitting there on how the Paul George trade might pay off in an NBA championship for either the Pacers or the Thunder, and it's really funny how just this is the Paul George NBA Finals, on how we knew how good Paul George was on the Indiana Pacers, and we saw that he'd run into LeBron and the Heat. in the East, and they couldn't do anything about it. So then he's traded away. Then, he's on the Thunder, and like he was there when Dame Time hit the clutch deep three ball to send the Thunder home. And then I kind of can't remember off the top of my head the little minute pieces of what got Paul George out of Oklahoma City. I don't know if it's because I don't remember everything off the top of my head, but like just the fun connections between everybody saying that the Chris Paul trade, no, not Chris Paul, Paul George. The Paul George trade from Oklahoma City to the Clippers was the worst in NBA history. And we look at like how it paid dividends for the Thunder, because now we see how stacked their roster is, how young their roster is, and their future picks, and we go, okay, this actually worked out pretty fine. But it's interesting to just kind of see the connection between. It'd be as if, oh gosh, so Harden played for Brooklyn, and he also played for the Houston Rockets. It'd be as if the Rockets and the Nets run into each other in the NBA Finals. It'd be as if Miami and the Lakers, after LeBron retires, runs into each other in the NBA Finals. It's just kind of one of those funny things where, like, yeah, when you thought about Indiana Pacers basketball in the early 2010s, you thought about Paul George. And then when you thought, now I can't say the same thing for the Thunder, because when you think about the Thunder in the early 2010s, it was Russ, KD, Harden, Ibaka, like it was those guys. And then little by little, they all just went their separate ways. And then the last standing piece was Russ. But now the last standing piece is Shea. So, like, I think, because after Harden left, then KD left, and then you could look with the 2017-2018 Russ teams. The other thing too was Steven Adams, the big man, was still there. Gosh, who else was there? I can't remember off the top of my head, but I mean, it's just interesting. It's interesting to see kind of that angle and that approach of how Paul George is connected to these NBA Finals, where it's his two former teams. So, or in the Super Bowl, if like Tom Brady, like let's take Tom Brady for example, if the Bucks and the Patriots run into each other in the Super Bowl, like there's just that weird, fun connection of how I don't know which team to root for. So, and I'm leaning towards the Thunder, and that's not because Pacers just don't have it. It's just I think I don't know. I don't think everybody's saying, "Oh, Thunder sweep." No. I don't think that for a second. Like I think the Pacers can get at least two. And where would those two be? I think one of them will be on the road. Like I could see the Pacers sneak out game 1, but then lose game 2, 3, and maybe 4. I could see them taking at least game 1 or 2, but then when we leave Indiana, I don't know. It could be 2-2. It could be 2-2. Like I can see one of their games winning Pacers. I could see one being on the road and one being at home, but not guaranteeing every single Pacer win is going to be on the road, or every single Pacer win is going to be at home. Like not like that, because I don't see the 4 games that the Thunder have at home and have been guaranteed at home. If it gets to 7, I don't see the Pacers winning everything on the road but then losing everything at home. Like I think it'll be an interesting situation where maybe the Pacers are down 3-1 and that's where they sneak out a road win, where they go back to Oklahoma City for game 5 and they have to find a way to win to extend the series. And when you look at that, Siakam, Halliburton, Naismith, all of them, they just have a big game. That's kind of what I think about that. But I do think this series is going to be a good one. I don't fall into this boring series, sweep, Thunder get them done in 5. I with how we have seen the Pacers, if you've watched the games, Pacers can hang with them, and I think Pacers will be able to hang with them, even though I'll admit, did I have the Pacers getting past the Cavs? No. Did I have the Pacers getting past the Knicks? No. So now, third time's the charm, where it's like, you know what? Maybe, no. But I think just with watching it. Like I think both teams. I don't think this is going to be a jab for jab where we're we're running with each other where you get a layup, we get a layup, you get a layup, we get a layup, and we do that for 48 minutes. Like I think with the pace, pun intended, with the Pacers, with how both of them go in runs, where Thunder might start out with a 10-3 run, just blow the Pacers out of the water there in the first quarter, kind of like how it was with the T-Wolves game. But that game won't be over because we have seen the ability Indiana's had to fight back in games. So I think they'd be able to, hold their water and then get back into the game, and then they'd go on a little bit of a run. And it's like the Thunder, like, what do we? So that's just my thoughts on that. Like I think, as much as we want to blow it out of proportion, I think this series will be close. I think it will be 6 games, and that's my thoughts on that. All right. Let's do a little bit of baseball now, should we? Okay, so 2 things out of the baseball world. We'll keep it quick because, again, I haven't been covering baseball as much as I should. Number 1, Rockies finally got their series win. Their first series win this whole season, because Rockies have been pretty booty. They have not done good, which if they've gotten their first series win, then that means they've finally gotten their 10 wins, which back in early May or something, when they were still hovering around 7 wins, 8 wins, they had to play the Yankees, they had to play the Mets, and they had to play the Phillies. And I was like, there's no way they're going to lose 14 straight. And I think they played the Mets, then played the Marlins, and played the Mets again. Or it was a series kind of like that, where I was like, they're bound to get that by like halfway through June, they'll be sitting at like 12 wins or 13 wins, because there's no way, when you look at all the games they're going to play, they're going to catch the Yankees on a bad night. They're going to catch the Phillies on a bad night. There's no way they're going to lose 20 straight games already with having a 12-loss streak going right now. Like, there's no way. And they've won a couple games, and clearly now they've finally won a series. So it's like, yes, this is where they turn it around. This is where they push for the playoffs. And I think, I don't think mathematically, actually, yeah, I think mathematically they have been eliminated. But didn't in recent history, wasn't it, maybe I'm mixing my sports here, weren't the Nationals like the worst team around halfway through the regular season? I could be wrong. But then the other story, kind of a pitcher duels, we got Lance McCullers coming back to the bump. He gets his first win since 2022, and that was against Paul Skeens and the Pirates. And so I think it's good. I think, we like pitchers. We love pitchers, and I think Paul Skeens is going to be a dude moving forward. And I think with both teams, respectfully, like if the Pirates make a push or anything to try to win their division, we know with Houston, we know with the Dodgers, we know with the Phillies, we know with the Braves, Yankees, your bullpen. I mean, I talked about it a little bit ago, like the Diaz, I believe his name's Diaz. The Dodgers acquired him, and he's a closer. Like, that will improve the bullpen. And I believe hot bats are one thing in October, and I definitely think that is a key reason why people win World Series. But then also, when all the bats are hot, who's going to shut them down? Who has the good bullpen? And I think with McCullers coming back, I definitely think that helps. But then, yeah, right now, I want to look. I would say probably it's, Detroit, because they're the number 1 team in all of the MLB. But who has the best bullpen right now? I'll leave that up to you guys. If you know, let me know in the comments and stuff who the best bullpen is, because I think once we get to it, bullpen's going to matter. So those are my 2 stories on the MLB. Let's move now to the NFL. Yes. Okay. So Saquon is going to be on the cover of Madden 26. I'm really happy, but then there's other parts of me where it's like, shit. And the reason why I say that is because, anybody heard of the Madden curse? I know Mahomes, Brady, who else? There have been who else? There have been some players who have had Josh Allen. Josh Allen's had a decent season, even though he hasn't won the Super Bowl the year he was on the cover. I think the Madden curse is kind of like, it's silly and it's very superstitious, but we are superstitious as sports fans. Where knock on wood, it's like, please do not, because CMC was on the cover last year. We saw how the 49ers performed, and we saw how he was dealing with a hammy, and then he ultimately met his fate on a night in Buffalo where, just snowy conditions. You could see him grabbing his leg because there was some tightness, and then he was out for the rest of the season. And I think, the Eagles are so damn good. They want to ban the tush push, and now they're like, okay, we'll get him where it hurts. We'll get him. We'll have Saquon be on the cover. I think Saquon deserves it. Period. End of story. He deserves it. Like, we can look at it from a funny point of view where we want to troll it a little bit on how, okay, we're gonna curse him, but Saquon, Derrick Henry, CMC, Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. Who else? Who else am I thinking of? A little bit of Isaiah Pacheco with the Chiefs. Aaron Jones when he was on the Packers. But, like, we have just written off the running backs as being a staple of NFL offenses. We're like, whatever, it doesn't matter. We'll just have our quarterback run out there, do a couple twirls, and then throw a deep ball, and then magic will happen. But, like, when defenses have turned QBs one-dimensional and offenses one-dimensional, the teams that have generated and continue to be successful are teams like the Lions, with Montgomery and Gibbs in the backfield. Teams like the Eagles with Saquon. Teams like the Ravens, who have a quarterback who can run with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. Like, we just know running backs aren't important anymore, but yet running backs are proving that they are important, and they are a staple of the NFL. And I love how we're kind of going back to the early 2000s era where running backs are the real deal. And when your quarterback can't throw and your offense turns one-dimensional, you got to rely on the offensive line, and you got to rely on your running back. And Saquon, Eagle fans, I'm not trying to trigger you too much, but, like, Eagle fans know, like, when, like, the snowy game against the Rams, it's like, okay, we're not going to throw 30 passes in this game. Look at the conditions. Like, we're going to run the ball. What does Saquon do? He has a couple breakout touchdowns. What did they do against Washington? A couple breakout touchdowns. Like, Saquon dominated those games, and he dominated the playoffs all the way up to the Super Bowl, where did the Chiefs contain him? Yes. I do think that the Chiefs threw everything in the kitchen sink to try to stop him. But what did that open up? The air attack, where, what was the score? Like 20-something-0. And then they're like, oh, Devontae Smith, deep ball, just extends the lead, nail in the coffin. Like, that game was over after that big touchdown. But I think running backs are important, and he deserves the cover. And having it be the backwards hurdle, I think is kind of fun. It's just a fun touch on it. And so, like, he deserves it. And with it being back-to-back running backs, CMC and then Barkley, like, it's good. It's good for the game. We love running backs. And so that's my thoughts on that. So, yeah. All right, what else? Oh, yeah. Okay. Ragnow. Sorry, let me get a swig here real quick. So, Ragnow, the Lions offensive lineman, apparently, from reports and listening and watching shows and stuff, he was dealing with some off-season injuries, and the Lions went ahead. They drafted a guy because I think they knew the future of what was going to happen, but he retired. And I think, injuries are a part of the game. It sucks, definitely sucks, but I'm interested to see now where the Lions go with their offensive line, and the long-term impact on missing a guy like Ragnow on the front line. So I'll be interested to see how the Lions do. Like, I think the Lions can fare out very well this season. Like, I'm not sleeping on the Lions. Like, being a Packers fan, there's the jersey. Being a Packers fan, we've slept on the Lions. We've seen how well the Lions have played in some years, and we've seen how bad they are. And now, funny enough, the Lions are about a Matthew Stafford away from winning the Super Bowl. But no, I'm teasing. But I'm intrigued to see where they go, and where I mean, I've thrown it out where other teams could try the tush push. I think the Lions could do it. I think, teams that want to get down and dirty, they could do it. Um, how does it affect the run game with Montgomery and Gibbs? How does it affect pass protection? Should it give Goff time? So we'll just see. We'll just see. I will say this. I don't think the Lions are going to win like 15 games, 16 games. But I definitely think the Lions are at least going to be a top 3 team. Where the only reason why they're not number 1 or number 2 is because they lose the head-to-head against the Eagles. And the Eagles have more divisional wins or something like that. Or something. Because I'm leaning towards top 3 teams being Eagles, Lions, Rams. Kind of leaning towards the Rams. Kind of leaning towards the Bucks. But yeah, I could see Eagles being 1, Washington being 2. Like I could see a 1-2 with those 2. Lions being that 3, Bucks being a 4, Ravens being a 5, 49ers being a 6, something like that, something along those lines. We'll just see. Again, this is all preseason. We're crowning champs already, but that's my thoughts on the Lions and their offense. What do we do? Oh, yeah, we can talk about this one. Well, actually, yeah, sure. So I saw the video, of course, on the behind the scenes of when the Panthers made the pick for T-Mac from Arizona in the NFL draft, and there were just some thoughts that I had where, how scary would the Rams? Because there's been a lot of hype with the Panthers, and I'm not bought into it just yet because have we seen how the Panthers have been playing the last 2 seasons? So I'm not bought into it just yet. But I mean, because hell, the Panthers. Oh, sorry. The Panthers have had Baker. They had CMC, and look how well CMC's done on the 49ers, and look how well Baker's doing in South Florida. So I'm not entirely bought in just yet on the Panthers, but with them getting T-Mac, I definitely do think it improves the offense because he was good at Arizona. Even though the record for Arizona might not indicate, individual performance or something or overall team success. That's the word I'm looking for. Like it was just fun to see the reaction of like how they drafted him and that process. Because the other thing that was thrown out is the Rams. The connection was with the Rams, and if there was going to be a trade, like who's going up, who's going down, and stuff. And then when I look and I think, okay, you have T-Mac, Cooper Kupp, Devontae Adams, Matthew Stafford, Kyron Williams, like that's a scary offense. And that would definitely be a top 5, top 6 offense in the NFL. And I think the wide receiver room would definitely be one of the best in the league. But no, he goes to Carolina, which that's all right. That's all right. There might be a fun story where full circle moment after he plays out his rookie year, maybe his extension, he finds his way over in LA. Like I don't know, but that's my thoughts on that. The other thing is, okay, let's take a swig before we do this one. Is there were some, so there's 3 players. There's 3 players. Yeah, 3 players, and there's potentially there was an article on these 3 players and their potential like landing spots if they were to get traded, because we're coming up on trade deadlines, I believe, with OTAs going on. And so these were the 3 players that I wanted to talk about: Kirk Cousins, Trey Hendrickson, and Jalen Ramsey. And so here are my thoughts after reading that article on where they potentially might go. So the first one, let's start with Kirk Cousins. There were 3. They talked about 3 spots, but I'm going to say a secret 4th one. So potential trading spots for Kirk Cousins is the Steelers. He goes with Mason Rudolph and Will Howard. The other one was a homecoming. He goes back to the Vikings, and then the other one was the Browns. And so it's like, okay, we'll talk about that. Like, let's dissect it a little bit. The reason why I don't think, here's why I don't think he's going to go to any of them. The Vikings, I could actually see the Vikings, though. But the Steelers, the reason why I don't think he's going to go to the Steelers is because they have Mason Rudolph and they have Will Howard. Whether or not they decide to sign Aaron on and Aaron decides, okay, I'm going to play football this year, they still have two quarterbacks there. And if he goes to the Steelers, his situation would still be the same as what it is in Atlanta, where we drafted a young guy for the future. The future is Michael Penix in Atlanta. The future in Pittsburgh is Will Howard. Do not kid yourselves. Like, Rudolph is not... He could be the guy this whole season. Like, I don't know. But, like, there's a reason why the Steelers drafted him. Like, Will Howard will be the future quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that's why I don't think he goes there. I could see him going to the Vikings, having a homecoming type moment. But again, same situation. McCarthy, he is the future of the Vikings. It's not Kirk Cousins, which is why Kirk went to Atlanta in the first place. So hold on to that. Now the Browns, it's interesting to throw him in conversations with the Browns because the Browns already have. We're talking about now. Pickett would go to Atlanta, and so that would be the swap. But it's like we have 5 quarterbacks on the Cleveland Browns. We have Watson, who's injured. We already know he's not playing. But we got Watson, who's injured. We got Kenny Pickett. We got Dylan Gabriel. We got Shedeur Sanders. And we got Joe Flacco. Okay, that's 5 quarterbacks. To bring another one on would just be a mess. But, yes, Kenny would get traded. But, again, I think, sound like a broken record here, they drafted Shedeur. They drafted Dylan Gabriel. We know where the future of the Browns is going. So to bring Kirk Cousins on, it's like, what are we doing here? Like Kevin Stefanski already knows Joe Flacco. So if the Browns are trying to push for the playoffs, Joe Flacco is going to be the guy. We'll see where the progression and the development of Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur comes from, because I do think Kenny Pickett probably gets traded to the Saints or the Steelers. No, not the Steelers. Sorry, the Saints or the Falcons or somewhere else once it comes time to start to make 53-man cuts, because why would the Browns go into the regular season with 4 quarterbacks? It makes no sense. I know we're all questioning, we're going, why the hell are they drafting 2 quarterbacks? We're going to find out why. We're going to find out why. We know the future. You know, you bring Flacco on, and we still know future's on the rookie quarterbacks they drafted, though. So to throw Cousins into that mix, it's kind of messy. So I don't think it's going to happen. And so I think that secret 4th team is the Saints. I mean, look at the Saints quarterback room and look at who the Saints have. And I think the Saints could significantly improve with, mentorship of like, hey, learn after me kind of situation where, Heiner, Rattler, and Tyler Shuck, I think all of them could benefit from having Kirk Cousins in the building. Like will Kirk Cousins get you playoff wins? I mean, maybe. But, like, we've seen how successful he's been in the regular seasons. And so I think, plus he's a good dude. So I think that would probably be where he ends up landing, because we know his future is not in Atlanta. We know it's Michael Penix's job to lose. And so I think that could be a trade destination where he goes. But again, that's just my thoughts on that. The other 2 players, let's talk about Ramsey. With Ramsey, it's hard because I don't know where to gauge it, because a lot of, like, when you look at the league, they want young corners, they want young DBs. Ramsey's getting up there. And then, like, with production and injury, like, I could see, because a lot of the meme is like, if you're a washed wide receiver, you go to Tennessee, and if you're a washed defensive player, you go to like Carolina or you go to Dallas or something. So, because Stephon Gilmore went to Carolina and he also went to Dallas, and he was up there at his top. I could see him going to Carolina. I could also, the other 2 spots were the Rams, so a homecoming, and then the Chargers. So we'll see. That's still up in the air, and I don't think there needs to be a confirmed, like, where it goes. My prediction, no clue. I don't know how to gauge, DBs and corners and stuff on any of that, because is it a young man's game? Is it a veteran? Like, who the hell knows? Now, with Trey Hendrickson, this situation, just because we've seen it publicly and we've read articles and we've seen videos where we can kind of gauge it a little closer, I do have a scenario on where he might go. And where he goes is probably to a top 5 defense, plain and simple. Like, I think the reason why we've even gotten in this situation is because in the offseason, we know Cincinnati decided to pay their receivers and their offense. Pay Joe Burrow, pay T. Higgins, pay Jamar Chase. Great. Now, Hubbard, who's your captain on the defense, decides to retire. And then we got Trey Hendrickson with trade talks looming. They don't sign an extension. They don't meet him at market value. Market value, I think, is the word I'm trying to look for. Because it's going to happen with the Steelers, too, with TJ Watt. Trey Hendrickson was the sacks leader last season. Did he win the Defensive Player of the Year? No, I believe it went to Patrick Surtain, which, I mean, he was a pretty good shutdown corner, so there's that. But we have seen the market on defensive guys, and with his productivity, like, I think he deserves the money. And I think the stats and the dominance speaks for itself. Now, was the Bengals defense good last season? Not really. Like, defense did kind of blow some games for the Bengals there towards the end. But when you look at some of the trade destinations that he might go to, Colts, I'm going to rule it out. But Bills, Lions, and Washington, yeah, I really could see him, because Bosa just left the Chargers. You get Bosa and Hendrickson on the Bills, that defense just gets that much better. You get Hendrickson on the Lions, that Lions defense just gets that much better with Hutch. And then, like, the fact that the Lions were dealing with injuries where they had, I believe, 22 players on their injury reserve list towards the end of the season. Like, yes, they got blown out by Washington, but, like, there's context to how the Lions lost in the postseason. And one of them being, when you've got to pick up practice squad guys, because the defensive side of the ball is strung together like second and third stringers, because some of your main guys are injured. Like, I think bringing Hendrickson on would definitely improve that defense. And then the last one would be Washington. I think when you want to pick between Buffalo, Washington, and Detroit, I think out of Daniels, Josh Allen, and Jared Goff, I think the best quarterback is Josh Allen. So if you want to look at it from that point of view, I don't know. Money talks, though, because you've heard his contract disputes and you know what he wants. So I think who wants to pay him? And I would say those three would be a good one. Other ones that I'd throw out there, but I don't think he'd do it. He's not going to go to Kansas City. There's no way. There's too much of a rivalry between the Bengals and the Chiefs for him to jump ship and be like, hey, I'm joining these guys. Ravens, maybe. But again, divisional rivals. You played for Cincinnati. Now you're jumping over to Baltimore. So that one kind of actually makes sense in a sense of, oh, you don't want to pay me? Okay, I'm going to the rival team, and I'm going to beat your ass every single time we come here. So that one makes sense. But I would say probably the Bills. Bills or the Lions. But that's my thoughts on that. Do I think he stays in Cincinnati, though? Like, if they finally get a contract done, yes. Like, there's parts of me that do think they're going to get a contract done. But we've heard him. He's not playing on the contract that he has now. And does Cincinnati have the money to meet his needs? We don't know now in June, and we're probably not going to know till breaking news per Adam Schefter. Trey Hendrickson has been, like, it's very up in the air. And I think what happens with Hendrickson, I do think will make an impact on how the Bengals perform this season. No shit. Like, I really do. Because he went and got guys in the draft, and, like, we know defense was the weakness. Like, again, you're missing your captain, and he's right there. Like, he's going to be, like, the dude, the glue that holds the defense together. So, I don't know. We'll see what the hell the Bengals do. I don't know. All right, let's move to college football now. All right. I'll try to keep this one quick. So there's only one news article and one big story to say from the college football world, and that is that some of the greats, Mark Ingram, Cam Newton, RG3, and Ndamukong Suh, have all been, um, they've all received Hall of Fame ballots for college football, which good on them. I don't know if Bush, or like, who are some other greats? Lamar, Johnny Manziel, Baker Mayfield. Like, I don't know if they've received Hall of Fame ballots yet, but we'll see. So there was that article from college football and something that stood out. All right, and then with the NHL, let's wrap it up. Let's wrap up this series. One of the biggest stories coming into today, not only with Stanley Cup Final Game 1, the Avalanche. They've extended Brock Nelson. And I definitely think you extend Brock Nelson. You bring some of the guys back, some of the glue guys. We'll see about Mikko. I don't know if Mikko Rantanen would go back to the Avs. You got Mackenzie Blackwood, so there's upside with the goalie, but like with the drama of how the Dallas series ended in the Western Conference Final, where Jake Oettinger gets pulled. Like there's a meme and there's a video of it's when Ottinger's sitting on the bench after being pulled with the 2 goals, where it's like Jake Oettinger is going to win so many cups with the Avalanche. I'm going to throw that one out there. Like, I know I'm not trying to overreact. I'm not trying to let's create a little stir here, because I think Jake Oettinger will be the goalie for Dallas when Dallas eventually wins the Stanley Cup. Like, you need fundamental pieces like that. We're going into the Stanley Cup Final right now, where Stuart Skinner and Bobrovsky, they are those, brick wall pieces to how these teams could win the cup, because goalkeeping is important. You could have the best offense. It don't mean shit if your goaltender behind you can't stop anything. As I list like 10 teams. But I think, extending Nelson with the Avalanche, and then we'll just see trade rumors about Jake Oettinger. Jake Oettinger on the Colorado Avalanche. I think it'd be, I don't know. I think it'd be a pretty big deal, considering you got McKinnon, considering you got Makar. You try to do a package deal, bring Mitch Marner over from Toronto. Try to get someone from the 2 tandems with the Minnesota Wild, whether it's Kaprizov or what's his name? Bolden. Yeah, bring Bolden. I don't know. I don't know. Plus LA, the Kings with how they just routed Edmonton in the first 2 games of that series. Who knows where Kopitar's going? Like, I don't know. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of trade fun stuff, but people have contracts, so they'll sit through their contracts. But let's talk about, though, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final is tonight, and my prediction and my preview for how it might go. My initial thoughts and reaction is we got the 2 best teams playing in it. I think Edmonton deserves the shot to get here. I think Florida deserves the shot to get here. Both teams respectfully took care of business against the Stars and the Canes. With this, I kind of have a feeling. I'll look at it from the point of view of the Panthers, because this is how I felt with the Panthers and the Hurricane series, where I said, don't be surprised if the Panthers come in Game 1 and whoops, we have Barkov, we have Tkachuk, we have Verhaeghe, someone showing up in Game 1, and when it seemed like, okay, Carolina needs to take Game 1. Okay, Edmonton needs to take Game 1. Whoops, Florida came in and they showed why they're defending Stanley Cup champs, and they win the first one on the road. We have seen how good the Oilers have been at home, and we've seen how good Florida has been on the road. And so with this games where everybody's trying to get a feelers and feel each other out on how this series might go, I think this is a great kind of first punch and kind of a first feeler on how this series might go. And so my prediction on how this game might play out and who I have, I'm going to roll with the Florida Panthers. I really think they've rested a little bit longer than Edmonton, but I don't think we can gauge if rest. Is there a stat on like teams who have rested longer than other teams who don't? I don't know. Like I feel like when you compare the Dallas series and the Hurricane series, like I feel like Hurricanes gave a little bit more of a fight than Dallas did. And so like competitiveness from that, like I feel like Carolina gave more of an effort than Dallas did. So like that benefits Florida a little. Like does that I know it might not make sense when I'm saying that. Cuz you go 3-0 and then you have a little scare and then you like close it out versus you gentlemen sweep Dallas cuz Dallas, yeah, we saw how the last game went, and we saw how, yeah, Jason Robertson tried to drag him back into the game, but then McDavid showed up, and just kept the lead with arm's length. And I think too, and this is me just kind of being honest, DeSmith and Ottinger aren't how Sergei Bobrovsky's going to play. Like I think early, like I know we've seen like okay predictions on who might win the Conn Smythe. Like I've made a video. I think Sergei Bobrovsky, if they win the cup, he definitely should be in talks for winning the Conn Smythe. But how well he's been performing in these past couple of games is definitely a lot better than Ottinger was playing in the Western Conference Final. Definitely DeSmith as well. And so I think the Oilers, unless they just come out and just whack, where Draisaitl, McDavid, yeah, they all get the better of, Officer Bob. Like, yeah, I do see this kind of being a game where Bobrovsky might let up a goal or two, but I could see this being a 4-2, 4-2 or a 3-2 kind of close Florida Panthers win where it's like, whoa, it's going to be a series because Florida knows how to win on the road and they know how to win these games. And that's not to say Edmonton doesn't know how to win either, because we saw from 3-0 Edmonton just got dragged back into the series because the Cats had how many chances in Game 5? No, Game 4, Game 5, and Game 6. And, and they finally closed it out in 7. But after going up 3-0, we saw how many chances they had to close them out. And they just couldn't because McDavid he was playing at another level. And so when we look at this game, I'm curious. I'm curious to see how this game might fare out. But I'm going to lean towards Florida. I know I've yapped a little bit too long, but that's my thoughts on that, guys. I got Florida. Let me know who you guys got. Yeah. Now, goal scorers or any of those kind of predictions, I have no clue. Like, sometimes, like, I would lean towards Tkachuk. I lean towards who has gotten Florida and who's been the staple of Florida. Tkachuk, Barkov, or Hagee. Is Reinhart back? I haven't seen any reports on if Reinhart's back. Because there could be that fun angle when you want to look at it is Reinhart. We saw him get hit in Carolina. He comes back. He's on the ice. Look at that. He scores first. Or he scores the go-ahead game winner, essentially, in the third period or OT. But, yeah, that's basically my thoughts on that. But I don't know. McDavid's got to have one. I know he was pretty quiet in the Western Conference Finals. He had some splashes in some games, but we know McDavid's got to show up. We know Draisaitl's got to show up. Bouchard, Nick Nurse, Perry, everybody's got to show up, and that's what kind of excites me about this playoff series in the Stanley Cup. Is I don't know, like I can't confidently sit here and say, okay, Edmonton's going to win it, or okay, Florida's going to win it. But like my prediction, and I still need to make a video. Sorry guys, I've been so, I've been so relaxed. I haven't made a video yet, but I'm leaning towards Florida. I sincerely do think that Florida could go back to back, but again, we'll just have to see, because I think, I sound like a broken record. This series is going to come to who's the better goalkeeper. So, are we going to trust in, Stewie being able to play on his head again, like how he played when he closed out Vegas and had a couple shutouts against Dallas? Or is Officer Bob going to report, show up on duty, and get it done? So I don't know. Like when you want to compare and look at player for player, Sergei Bobrovsky is a better goalkeeper. But again, doesn't matter if he's a better goalkeeper. He's got to have a better series than Skinner. But we'll just see. I kind of and like with the history of the Stanley Cup as well. When you look at how Edmonton played last time these two played, their top five, their top line, like Edmonton just came out slow. Like it took 3 games for them to show up. Like we saw the stats of like, okay, in Stanley Cup final history of all time, like no top line had ever gone like all the minutes that they went without a goal. Like McDavid, Draisaitl, I think they threw Nugent Hopkins in that, Bouchard. Like I don't remember what players they threw in there, but like the players that had the goals, I think Bobrovsky had a shutout in one of the first 2 games, but like through games 1, 2, and 3, like I think it took till game 3 for one of them to score from that top line. There was like the people who did score the goals, wasn't it like just different guys, defensemen or fourth line or third line guys that you wouldn't expect them to have a goal, but they had a goal, so it's like yay. But like yeah, there was, if I remember correctly, there was the stats of how like, hey, when you get in the Stanley Cup final, like with your Sids and your Genos and your Tangers, it's like these guys are going to score in game 1 and 2, and there will be goals and there will be points. But with the Oilers, it wasn't like that. They got off to a very, very slow start. But we saw how explosive the series ended up being. But I'm just excited for a good series. I think it's going to be a good series. But let's go to the comments section. Let's read some of your guys' sports takes. Let me know some of your sports takes. Here we go. Where are we going? Hold on. Let me get it pulled up here. All right. Let me get pulled up. All right. Okay, all right. From Alex. Here we go, Alex. All right. Are hockey contracts on par with NFL or baseball? No. From what I've noticed with, I think the best when you want to look at lucrative, I think baseball contracts are the most lucrative because, like, hell, we just saw Shohei, sign his deal for like $700 million with the MLB. But it's lucrative in the way of you're getting all this money, but like it's for long term. So well, there's that, and like not all 700 million is going right back to him. Like he's got to pay, his agent, his trainers, Uncle Sam, who else? Like just the money, like the money that we see, and a lot of it's on the back end too. Because do I expect? Because I think he signed 12-year, 8-year, 9-year, 12-year. However, like it was a long contract for the 700. Do I think he plays every single year of that contract? Probably not. I mean, we saw Soto sign with the Yankees, and then he's only in the Bronx for 1 year, and then he switches over to the Mets. Like, so yes, but no, because the only player that I think has played out their contract in full, Mike Trout, Jose Altuve. Who else? Anybody else? Because like other guys from the Astro teams of yesteryear, like Correa, Springer, like they went to Toronto, Minnesota, like, but no, it just doesn't compare. It doesn't compare because with hockey, you know what? Let me pull up some here real quick, because I think it doesn't get over like $3 million a year. I don't like if someone signs, like, let's just look, because Igor Shesterkin got paid. Wait, yeah, let's look at his contract. Okay, so in December of 2024, so Igor Shesterkin signed an 8-year, $92 million contract. So let me divide that up. So 92 divided by 8. So he's, oh, okay. Well, he's a goalkeeper. Hold on. Who's an average? Well, and he's not an average goalkeeper. Like, he was one of the better ones. Let's look at Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews contract. 4-year, 53. Okay, that's 13. Well, maybe, okay, maybe I'm getting this wrong. Maybe I'm thinking about, like, maybe I'm, well, these are top line all-star prospects. Maybe I'm getting them mixed up with, like, third and fourth line guys, but typically, um, role players in the NHL, like, it's like 4 or 5 year deals for 4 or 5 million a year, like, where they're getting paid 2 million, 3 million every single year, and not 18 million like Austin Matthews. But again, Austin Matthews is a different type of player. Like Matthews, McKinnon, Ovi, Sid, who else? I'm trying to think of McDavid, Draisaitl, Tkachuk. Like, they're getting paid the bigger bucks in the NHL, but it's not compared to. Let's look at oh gosh, who's an NFL? Okay, let's look at Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs contract. Stephon Diggs signed a 3-year, $69 million contract. 60. Wait. So Matthews, 4-year, 53. Stephon Diggs, 3-year, 69. So, like, the NFL is more money short amount of time, but it's a different. It's different sports. I don't know. The market is very different. Like, who's the defensive guy? NFL. Let's look at Micah Parsons. Let's look at Micah Parsons' contract. Micah Parsons, according to the internet, so, you know, Micah Parsons is asking for $200 million. Okay? You throw $200 million at a hockey player, they're never seeing another team. So, $200 million is a lot. Well, and then let's look at Josh Allen. Josh Allen's contract. Because I know he penned something. 6-year worth 330 with 250 guaranteed. So Josh Allen, knock on wood. I'm not even gonna, you know where I'm going with it. Never mind. I'm not even gonna finish it. But so 6-year 330. Let's do some math here. Divided by. He's a $55 million man compared to Austin Matthews, $13, $14 million. So, to long way to round home and come back to, you know, get the point across. Let's pull up your question one more time. So to answer your question, are hockey contracts on par with the NFL or baseball? No. But I think also too, it comes with the sport of what hockey is. Like hockey, I'm not trying to gatekeep when I say this, but hockey is an acquired taste, and some things. Um, I think hockey definitely could. Like, if you want to watch hockey, you watch hockey. Does that make sense? Um, but I think the game is in good hands, and I think it's going to be. I think it will get better, and I think it's still going to be entertaining because hockey's very entertaining if you just give it a chance. Like hockey is very entertaining, but the money, like, well, hockey players like Borowski, McDavid, to Chuck, any other guy in the Stanley Cup final here, are they going to be seeing the type of money that Shohei is seeing, or Stephon Diggs, or Josh Allen? No, not even. Maybe, maybe if they get like lots of brand sponsorships and stuff, but no, because the game just isn't at that level yet. Um, and yeah, and a lot of it just comes back to the viewer and revenue on, are we watching the game? Like it's a business thing. Like it's a fun business thing where if the NHL, well, actually no, let's do some research here. Let me look up. Let's see how much the NHL makes revenue. Okay, the NHL got 6.4 billion dollars. Let's look at the NFL. Oh well that yeah, that explains it. 6.4 compared to 23. I know it's all billions when we get to it, but that's almost 6, 12, 18, 20. That's almost 4 times the amount of money. Almost 4 times the amount of money. So yeah, the NFL's in good hands. I think we'll just see where the league goes. We'll just see where it goes. NFL's, football's fun. Hockey's fun too, even though it can barely hold a candle to it. But money wise, but like talent and enjoyment. I mean, hockey's enjoyable. Hopefully these next 7 games, we'll see how long the Stanley Cup final is. Like, it will be enjoyable. But again, that's my thoughts on that. Great question. Great question. I see the polls where we're leaning towards the Oilers. That's all right. Okay, people on the shorts end, we're going to do a hard out. I thank you guys for being here. Be sure to tune in a little bit later. We'll be doing a watch along. I think we should do a watch along tonight, so come back to that. But yeah, we'll be doing that a little bit later. So I thank you guys for being here. Be sure to hit that like button. Peace. All right. We'll end that. Okay, now people hit over here on the horizontal stream. Okay, we'll get these. We'll wrap up this stream, but I thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for hanging out. Again, I'll get this prediction video out for game 1 tonight. Hopefully it's a big one. Like, I love hockey. Like, hockey, do not kid yourselves. Hockey's fun to watch. Hockey's a good sport, and I think, when you got 2 of the best teams playing for Lordo, I think it's gonna be a good game. I didn't even, now that I think about it, because this stream's wrapping up and over, I didn't. No, I think I did give my prediction and preview to the NBA Finals. I'm kind of leaning Thunder. I'll definitely need to make a video on that, but I'll leave it here, guys. I thank you for being here. Be sure to hit that like button. And yeah, stay tuned. More videos coming your way, but I thank you for being here.